Well, I knew this day was coming. I just didn't think it was going to be right now. The maintenance costs are piling up on my Volkswagen GTI. But more on that in a minute. 6 years of ownership, close to 72,000 miles on the odometer, and the warranty has finally expired. I have hit a huge milestone with my Volkswagen GTI, and I didn't think this was going to be possible. In fact, leading up to this moment, leading up to the years to get to 6 years of ownership, I thought it'd be sold. I thought it'd be long gone. In fact, it was supposed to go when I got my Subaru WRX. And yet, it has withstood the test of time, and I really do love the car. Now today, I am not going to get into speculation as to what the future is for my GTI, because I do regret making that video 8 months ago where I was considering selling it. I got a number of messages on Instagram asking me, Mike, do you still have the car? Mike, are you selling the GTI? Mike, how much do you want for it? Usually I would say no, or other times I would just not even respond to those comments. But you got to realize one thing here. I have 6 years of memories. I have road trips, I have cruises, I have rallies. I have met a lot of great people in the Boston car community through this car. It's not going to be easy when the day does come that the GTI is going to be moving on to someone else. But in today's video, I'm going to dive into those maintenance costs and also get into what it's been like owning this car for 6 years. In my hand is the most expensive repair bill to date for the GTI. And the culprit can be found right here. Some of you might remember me mentioning that I was hearing some noise coming from my brakes. I wasn't exactly sure where it was coming from though, whether it was the front or the rear. I had it checked out and everyone told me there's nothing wrong. We can't replicate the noise, the way it usually goes. But this year it became egregious. It wasn't intermittent. In fact, every single time I got behind the wheel, started driving, there was that screeching. And in fact, I took some video clips for you guys to hear for yourselves. All right, you hear that? I'm not even on the brake. I'm not on the brake right now. It sounds like it's the front left, but I'm not 100% sure. Gonna tap the brake, it's gone. And ultimately, it ended up being the driver's side rear caliper. It was seizing up. And with that noise, it all makes sense. In fact, I'm not the only GTI owner recently that I know of that had this same issue. However, it cost me a pretty penny. And the grand total for this service, drum roll please, $1,807, but that's before taxes, and also this wasn't just the rear left caliper that got replaced. It was the rear brake pads and rotors, and then one other service which I hadn't had done since I think 30,000 miles was a coolant flush. Altogether equates to $800. Now, this isn't my only service this year. Obviously, I had oil changes, but then I got new tires. And I'm looking at a total right now of $3,000 for the year of 2025, but I have one more service, and the front brakes are starting to squeak a bit. So I could be looking at a $4,000 a year here. Now, I wasn't completely taken surprised by all of this. I knew this was coming down the road. It was just a matter of when. When you hit 70,000 miles, this is when things need to be replaced. It's just a matter of life. Also, the warranty has expired, so I'm expecting things to get a bit more expensive. But it's coming at a tough time. I'm looking at doing a business trip during the beginning of October. I'm planning for my road trips next year. I don't need extra expenses. Now, I can easily keep up with the maintenance. This isn't one of those situations where it's like I'm going bankrupt, I'm going broke, or I can't keep up with the repairs for this car. I can easily keep this car for the next 6 years and 72,000 miles. The question is, do I really want to? Now, I am fully aware in the eyes of enthusiasts that I have not really pushed this car in any way, shape, or form. I have not tapped into its full potential, whether it's modifications for the power, the exterior, or even just the fact this car has a lot of life left in it. I mean, 6 years, 72,000 miles, it could probably go another 100,000 miles without any major issues if it is going to be bone stock like I have here today. Now, I did drop in a cold air intake, make some great noises, and also the carbon fiber looks really cool. I do wish I dropped in a exhaust though, just to give it a bit more sound. But outside of that, I don't think it's really necessary to do anything else. And truthfully speaking, I'm just not one of those guys who likes modifying his cars. I just don't, especially with this being my daily driver for almost 5.5 years. Now, with the GTI though, I think it's flawless. The Mark 7.5 is the best generation. However, thanks to this car's reliability, and I probably said this once or twice in the past, I didn't think I was ever going to buy another Volkswagen GTI after this one, that this was enough experience. But because of its reliability and bulletproof nature, I could probably see myself getting an 8.5 or maybe even a 9, depending on what that looks like and if it's not hybrid or electric, and I would probably be very happy with it. Now, what you have here with the GTI, I think, is a car that's not only great for a younger driver, but also if you're looking for a fun daily driver when you are commuting to work. The sport suspension, the fact that you're going to have a car that has that nice turbo and it's quick, it really truly is quick, and I think you're really going to enjoy this car, whether it is a 2021 Mark 7.5 or even the earlier Mark 7 generations with that 6-speed DSG. In fact, I think the 6-speed DSG is better than the 7-speed. It's just I feel like the gear ratios were far better and more natural to this engine. A constant battle that I have been facing here with the Volkswagen GTI, and why I've gone back and forth over the past few years as to whether I should sell it or not and getting something a bit bigger like a crossover, is the practicality. Now, I had a number of people comment on my last video about 8 months ago when I made a video on the GTI saying, should I sell it, saying, I have 2 kids. I can have a family and put luggage in the back. It's practical enough. You're fine. But you got to remember one thing. I am a special case here. So when I go on those road trips to Watkins Glen or Lime Rock, or maybe even next year a little further out for other races for IMSA, it's not just my luggage and my family's luggage. I have 3 bags of camera gear, a gimbal box, and a tripod, and sometimes another bag for some lenses, because I'm going to need those longer lenses to get those cars in frame and have a nice shot there. So when you factor all that into the equation, the GTI becomes quite cramped. And then when you're heading towards your destination and you got to get some food, mostly grocery shopping because I'm out there for 4 to 5 days, then the car is packed to the gills. And I sat there with the car sagging a bit in the rear. I'm like, I should have got a crossover. Like, I need something bigger. In this situation, I need something bigger. And from Boston to Watkins Glen is a straight line drive. There's no winding back roads. I don't need a sports new suspension. So a crossover could actually fit, and I could use that vehicle on a daily basis. There is a crossover in mind that I have right now. I'm waiting for pricing, but I'm not going to get into that today. So practicality is one of those things that I'm, really thinking about here with the car, that if I'm just going to use this as a weekend vehicle, go to car shows, perfectly fine. But as a daily driver, that's where it's starting to feel like, you know what, it's time to upgrade. Thankfully though, for a turbocharged car, unlike my Subaru WRX, the GTI is very efficient, and this factors into the practicality. This factors into the daily usability of the GTI, why I think it's one of the great enthusiast cars at an affordable price point. So for combined driving, I get about 28 miles per gallon. On the highway only, about 32 to 35. It's very efficient. Now, per week, it costs me about $45 to fill up. You got to remember, I don't drive this car every single day, and there are some weeks where I'm working from home. So it's still going to be a car that is not going to add up in terms of that cost. And that's one of the reasons why the GTI has stuck around. It's just a great car to drive on a daily basis. It is a perfect daily driver in that way. Fighting the enthusiast urge to move on from the GTI though, because it's only natural, right? Like, you want something that's quicker, faster, luxurious, exotic. One thing with the GTI, with this being a Rabbit Edition and in cornflower blue, it's special, it's unique. I can't think of any other car that's affordable, like say under $50,000, that would have that same unique characteristic. Sometimes I go to a Cars and Coffee with this thing, and it finds itself in some weird lineups. Like, the last Cars and Coffee was parked next to a McLaren and a Z06 C8 Corvette. My Subaru WRX doesn't get that same treatment. In fact, I'm pushed to the back. I'm sent to the back lot, which I'm perfectly okay with. But the GTI, every time I pull in, they put me over up front. And that's what's really cool. I think the fact that it is such a unique color, and the fact that I only spent $27,500, it makes it even more special, right? Like, I'm not a wealthy person. I'm not someone that's going to be able to go buy a Porsche 911. But the fact that I can have a car that I can be prideful in and I can enjoy has really become a special aspect about this car, and why it's been in my driveway for 6 years. And the last point I want to make here with the Mark 7.5 GTI, and my GTI more specifically, is that I think this car is aging like fine wine. I mean, not only with the exterior, but also the interior as well. Sure, I do think there is some Mark 8 and 8.5 fanboys out there that will say, I'd rather have that full digital gauge cluster. I'd rather have that large infotainment system. I need that tech. I want that futuristic experience. But if you're a true enthusiast and really just looking for a modern layout, you have that here with the 7.5 where it doesn't feel old or outdated. You're still going to have physical buttons and dials for your infotainment system, but then also your climate control settings. There's going to be physical buttons on the steering wheel, and then you have analog gauges and a small information display. But you still have modern day amenities, right? Like Apple CarPlay and Android Auto. My only point of criticism is where the USB outlet is. That I don't like. But aside from that, this car, to me, again, feels flawless. Then when it comes to cloth plaid upholstery, it still looks really good. I mean, there's no wear and tear. There's no rips in the upholstery. It looks like it did when I first bought the car back in 2019. In fact, I think it was June 28th of 2019. It still looks brand new. And that might be more of a testament to me maintaining this car, keeping it clean, keeping it looking good. But the fact that this car doesn't feel old in any way, whether it's the interior or when you're driving it around, that just means so much to me, especially for a car with 72,000 miles. Outside of that, though, there is nothing to report here. I have no concerns. I have no problems, no issues. It's just that maintenance popped up at the exact same time altogether. And this was scheduled maintenance. This wasn't anything of a surprise. This was not unscheduled. So I can't complain about that. I have had no complaints with my GTI. And one thing I have learned this year, or really over the last few years, is that this car has actually meant a lot to me. So many memories, so many drives. And that's what it's all about. I have fully understood the real meaning of ownership and being an enthusiast with this car. Maybe some people will say, well, Mike, you didn't tune it, you didn't modify it, you're not a real enthusiast. But I've kept this car looking good, I've kept it maintained, and that's really all that matters. You know, when I owned my Volvo S40 6 years ago, or 6+ years ago, I wasn't even able to change the tires to what I wanted. I couldn't afford Michelins. So now the fact that I can put on Michelins, I can keep this car looking good, I can keep it maintained, I'm happy. I really am. And you know, 6 years ago when I bought this car, I don't think I really deserved it. I really didn't, honestly, truthfully speaking, because a few months later, I was focused on what was next, which I couldn't afford. Now in 2025, I'm thinking about longevity still. I'm thinking about keeping this car for a bit longer, but that's so far down the road and life is full of surprises. But I have to say though, being a Mark 7.5 GTI owner, it has been a blast, it has been a joy. And if you're someone looking at buying one, don't hesitate. Get it, because you are going to really enjoy your time with this car. And if you get yourself a Route Edition in Cornflower Blue, make sure to keep the paint looking good, because you're going to be very popular at a car show and in your local car community. But guys, once again, thanks so much for watching this video. Please like, comment, share, and subscribe for more. I hope it wasn't too repetitive for this video like I was 8 months ago, but really nothing has changed. There's nothing different here about this car than it was, what, 5 years ago? So I'm really happy with this GTI, and that's really all I could ask for out of a car like this. But guys, once again, thanks so much for watching. Take care, and I'll see you guys next time.